Hello. In our last video I mentioned a mason's loft with a tracing floor where full-size designs for stonework were sketched out above a passage leading to the chapter house at York Minster. In this video I'm going to take a closer look at the Minster. York, Roman Iberacum, is where Constantine was acclaimed emperor in 306. A bronze statue by Philip Jackson outside the Minster commemorates the event. The inscription, "Constantine by this sign conquers," is a reference to the story that Constantine saw a cross in the sky, which foreshadowed a military victory and led to his conversion to Christianity. Although we have no names, we know there was an early Christian community in York. A bishop was invited to the Council of Arles in 314, and a Bishop of York is recorded attending the Council of Nicaea, convened by Constantine in 325. Whatever the size and significance of that early Christian community in York, and we can only speculate, it disappeared with the arrival of the Anglo-Saxons. A diocese was re-established by Paulinus, a member of the Augustinian mission dispatched by Pope Gregory to convert the Anglo-Saxons, and Paulinus became bishop around 625. A small wooden church was rebuilt in stone by King Edwin of Northumbria after he was baptised in 627. When Edwin died 5 years later, the kingdom of Northumbria reverted to paganism. Paulinus died in 644. The see was refounded after a lapse of 2 decades by Wilfrid, who became bishop in 665. Pope Gregory had intended York should be an archbishopric, and this was realised in 735 with the appointment of Egbert as the first Archbishop of York, with an archdiocese covering Carlisle and Durham. The Anglo-Saxon Minster was largely destroyed during the brutal harrying of the north after the Norman conquest. When Thomas of Bayeux was appointed bishop in 1077, he established a secular system of prebends and canons, churchmen supported by income from various areas within the diocese. Foundations for a new cathedral were laid in 1079. In the medieval period, York overtook Norwich and Winchester to become England's second most important city after London. The church in York was rich, and resources were poured into successive rebuilds, each a little larger, swallowing its predecessor. Of the Norman building phase, only the 12th century crypt of Bishop Roger Pont-l'Evêque from the Calvados region of Normandy remains, where there is what is known as the Doom Stone, showing devils forcing sinners into the cauldron of hell, and a defaced sculpture called the York Virgin, presumably a victim of either the Reformation or the Puritans in the immediate aftermath of the Civil War. In 1227, former Archbishop William Fitzherbert was canonised and a shrine was added, initially and unusually at the east end of the nave. St William was later moved to a new shrine in a more typical position behind the high altar. Pieces of both shrines, which were dismantled at the Reformation, are now in York Museum. William's canonisation added to York's status and was the impetus behind the addition of massive transepts. On the right in this picture is the King's Screen of 1420, featuring statues of the Kings of England from William the Conqueror to Henry VI. A series of lancet windows in the north transept, known as the Five Sisters, still have original grisaille glass. The south transept, where the main lay entrance was situated, has one of the first rose windows seen in England, dating from the 1280s. Around the same time, work began on a new, richly decorated chapter house. Carved above the stall canopies are individual human heads, angels, animals, and a variety of strange creatures. The decorated Gothic nave, 80 metres long and at 30 metres the widest nave in England, was built between 1290 and the mid-14th century. The east end was rebuilt between 1361 and 1405 in perpendicular Gothic style. A great east window in the Lady Chapel with more than 300 panels is the largest expanse of medieval stained glass in England. It was commissioned in 1405 and the work was overseen by glazier John Thornton of Coventry. Beneath angels, apostles, prophets, saints and martyrs of the heavenly realm, scenes depict the creation and the apocalypse, with figures from history below. The window has been the focus of a recent restoration project, and that in turn led to an interactive museum in the Undercroft, which explores the history of the site on which the minster stands, from the Roman barracks of Eberacum through Anglo-Saxon Eferwick and Viking Jorvik to the founding of the Norman cathedral. Among the very few items that survive from the Anglo-Saxon period are the beautifully illuminated York Gospels, made in Canterbury around 990 and brought to York by Archbishop Wulfstan some 30 years later. As well as the 4 Gospels, the book contains the wording of the oaths sworn by the dean and canons when they're installed, and it's still, with great care and reverence, in use today. In 1829, Jonathan Martin, a radical nonconformist, hid in the minster and set fire to it in the night, causing extensive damage. At his trial, he was judged to be insane and he later died in hospital. In 1984, a lightning bolt struck the south transept, setting fire to the roof and causing £2.25 million worth of damage, which could have been much worse if it wasn't for the prompt response from the fire service. The subsequent restoration of the minster is testament to the strength of feeling in our local communities and further afield for these wonderful buildings. Next time, I'm going to take a look at the various roles in our medieval cathedrals and how they were organised. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available, or you can subscribe by clicking on the rose window over my shoulder.